Next on BYUSN, Iliasa Tuiaki out as the DC. Our reactions, and who should the new DC be?
Well, super weekend for BYU hoops and BYU football. What did we learn from those two big victories?
How about that comeback versus Dayton? Welcome to BYU Sports Nation, presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere. Great to have you with us on this Monday, November 28th. I am Jarom Jordan. He is Dave McCann. It was a busy weekend, man. It
was a good weekend. There were so many games to watch. And we were exhausted when ours finally came on, but it was on. It was like, well, what else are we going to do?
It felt like this is what we do as BYU fans and covering the team, of course, with you guys. And it was halftime, and I felt what it was like to be an East Coaster. I was like, the game's only halfway over? Oh, my gosh, I'm so tired.
We had East Coasters texting us during our pregame show. They're like, guys, 11 p.m. start for football's killing us back here.
That's tough.
I said, well,
the good news is we're going to start to speak in Central Time here soon enough.
Yeah.
And perhaps this week we'll know the Big 12 schedule, man.
Yeah, I think Thursday. It's kind of what Tom Homo hinted at when he sat down with us last week. That's coming up.
Huge news.
You know, what a day that'll
exciting.
Be. Just to see the list and see BYU in it, I think is the everyone knows it's coming, but I think that's when you go, oh my gosh, it is coming. And we're going to play all those. And we got to go find a defense coordinator and a whole bunch of other things.
Lots to do.
We got a lot going on this show today. Trevor Matich, our national champion from '84, he's going to be with us. He'll chime in on the defensive situation. David Nixon went to work this weekend, interviewing Taysom Hill, his brother-in-law, and Danny Sorensen after the Saints game in San Francisco. We'll hear those interviews. And a Jets win yesterday. How bad of a deal is that for BYU's Zach Wilson? We will discuss.
Okay, here are today's headlines. Iliasa Tuiaki steps down after 7 seasons as BYU's defensive coordinator. Tuiaki posted about it last night on his Instagram. Much more on this coming up in What's Trending.
BYU beat Stanford 35-26 in the regular season finale. Ran for 358 yards. It was impressive when they were moving the ball on the ground. Jaron Hall went out with a sprained ankle in the second half. Team now waits to find out who and when they will face in a bowl game. Should know that in the coming days, probably after the weekend. And speaking of Hall and the bowl game, Spencer got an update from Jaron right after the football game.
Do you feel like you'll be okay and ready to go in the bowl game?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a preference on where you go and who you play?
No preference. We're gonna have a good time wherever we go. That's where the party's gonna be at. So we're gonna learn from the last couple years. Make sure that we finish on a good note.
Wherever we go is where the party's going to be at.
That's what I said when I got my mission call.
And you took the party to?
I went to Brazil.
To Brazil.
Yeah.
Well, if the World Cup was going on, it was.
Yeah, I had to ignore Carnival, but that's no.
We'll update you more on Hall's situation as we get into the week.
He was in a good mood there for having been hurt in that game, but luckily it was a sprained ankle and not something more serious.
Remember at the SC game, somewhere in there he got hurt.
Yep.
And he was a game-time decision leading up to the bowl game and didn't play.
Because Baylor Romney was in position, there wasn't a ton of pressure for him to play in that game.
Hey, Baylor Romney isn't coming through that door.
That's right. Cougars in the NFL. Tyler Algier had 11 carries for 54 yards in a loss to the Commanders. Taysom Hill had 6 carries for 13 yards and a 7-yard catch in the Saints' 13-0 loss to Fred Warner and the Niners. Or should we call him Pete, who had 7 tackles, a forced fumble on the opening drive, and 2 pass breakups. Johnny Takitaki had 6 tackles, a 23-17 Browns win versus Tom Brady and the Bucs. Michael Davis, 6 tackles, a sack, hello, TFL, 2 pass breakups. Kyle Van Noy added 5 tackles in a Chargers 25-24 win versus the Cardinals.
Exciting game right there. Good to see those guys doing well. Basketball, battle for Atlantis. The game on Friday, BYU's down 23 in the first half, and they come roaring back and win in overtime 79-75. It's what you can do when you limit turnovers and play hard and shoot better than 57% after halftime. Westminster's on the docket tomorrow night, 9 Eastern time, 8 Eastern for game day. We're live at Vivint Arena in Salt Lake City and right here on BYUtv.
Sounds like it's the second biggest comeback in men's basketball history to Iona, 25. That second year in the WCC.
2012.
Incredible.
Big dance. Crazy.
Women's hoops lost 61-56 to Ball State Saturday, led by a 7th double-double from Lauren Gustin. Literally every game this year. Cougars play at Boise State on Thursday. Of note, Coach Whiting's son plays for Boise State. They might be out of town, so I don't know if they're going to connect.
Women's volleyball off to the NCAA tournament where they always do well. This year they're the 7 seed, found out last night in the selection show. Going to play James Madison at 4 Eastern time on Friday back at Pittsburgh. It seems like they always go to Pittsburgh.
They did last year in the Sweet 16.
And if they beat James Madison, they're going to play Pittsburgh.
Rematch, Pitt 1-4. Shout out to the WCC, got 4 teams in.
That's great.
A little bit surprising, that was great. All rise and shout. It's time for What's Trending, which is presented by BYU Food to Go, the MVP of your next event. Okay, Iliasa Tuiaki steps down as defensive coordinator as announced on his Instagram last night. What's your reaction?
Well, I was a little bit surprised only because it was Sunday night and it was on Instagram. Kind of felt changes were coming. I think there's going to be some more. 7 years with Kalani Sitake and his staff. He's had a lot to do with their winning. He's been great for us, and we work with the coaches and get to know them a lot differently than the general public, and so there's a different relationship there. So you're always sad when changes like this come, but I read his statement and I thought it was good. He's ready for something new as well, and so I salute him for what he's done, wish him the best moving forward, and BYU has had some challenging times with him. They've had some really, really good times with him.
I echo that sentiment. BYU's probably been better defensively outside of the last 2 years than you think. People forget quickly. In 2018, BYU was 33rd in SP+. Obviously, the COVID year, tremendous 21st. That is a unique year, of course. But, yeah, there were moments where, fans didn't like what was going on. And when you win, it's great. When you don't, people look for somebody to blame. And certainly Iliasa Tuiaki was used in that regard a lot from the fan base. And now it's time to move on. I like to say on this program that the jobs around BYU sports are not callings, but I do want to make a calling reference here. There's a certain amount of time that a bishop or a stake president or whatever has, and then he's done. Not everyone is here forever. This is a job, but there does come a time where it's time to get someone new in that position. And that time has come because BYU the last 2 years has stunk on defense. 79th in SP+ last year, 102nd before the Stanford game. Certainly it's time for a change. Now, if BYU had won 2 more games than it did this year, there might not need a change, might not be merited, but we're at that point right now in this situation. BYU did mention this in a statement about Tuiaki's departure. BYU will immediately begin a search for a new defensive coordinator to lead the program's defense. Once in place, the new defensive coordinator will work with Sitake to determine any defensive staff needs. So we don't anticipate that there will be other changes, I guess, immediately based on that statement. But I'd be surprised if there weren't, like you said.
I think, too, if we're going to put out the negatives on where BYU's defense is, and they earn those numbers, and for a variety of reasons, there's also the positives you got to include. BYU's 28-9 over the last 3 seasons. That means Tuiaki's 28-9. Jaron Hall's 6-1 against the Pac-12. Tuiaki's 6-1 against the Pac-12. So there's this, but it's got to come along with this, because then you get the full thing of, yeah, sometimes change is good for a variety of reasons, but it doesn't mean this was a failure and this was a disaster hire, because it wasn't. It just means that this is time for a change. But on this hand and on this hand, you've got a career. You've got a career of highs and lows. We celebrate the highs and we beat to death the lows.
Yes,
that's
we
what
do.
fans do.
And we've got to talk about it. Okay, so you're probably wondering, who's BYU looking at? Who's potentially in the mix? 24/7 Sports' Jeff Hansen does a tremendous job. He has come up with his big board. Here's a couple of names. Frank Maile, Boise State assistant coach, notably 2 years ago was the Utah State interim after Gary Anderson. Jason Kaufusi, Arizona defensive line. Oh, Kaufusi, shoe-in, right? Well, we'll see. You've got other guys like Derek Odom of San Jose State, who worked with Kalani Sitake at Oregon State. Ikaika Malo at UCLA. Kurt Maddox, San Diego State's defensive coordinator. Justin Enna, San Diego State linebackers coach, former Cougar. Kelly Papinga is at Boise State. Lance Anderson from Stanford, longtime DC there. Sean Nua at USC is an interesting mention, the defensive line coach, former Cougar. Bronco Mendenhall is on its list. He said, not coaching, just kidding, this isn't happening. Of course it's not.
What about Gary Patterson, TCU head coach, defensive guy? He's on Steve Sarkisian's staff
analyst
as a
at
consultant.
Texas, yep.
His son is at BYU right now. All his kids have gone to BYU. There's a connection there. Why not give him a call?
There certainly is. Is that in the realm of Bronco Mendenhall, where it's like, former head coach, would you be a DC somewhere? Now, and the card that is most interesting in this conversation is BYU's entering the Big 12. It's going to get up to $50 million here in 2 seasons annually with TV revenue. Hopefully they can be more competitive in this conversation than they've ever been before. And I want to ask you this, Dave. Do you want a young position coach who hasn't been a DC that Kalani can sort of mold and bring along, or do you want an experienced guy who's been a coordinator?
I kind of think that Kalani will hire a young guy and bring him along, but then stay involved with the defense longer, being the head coach and the defensive coordinator. Kind of like what he's doing now when he got involved in is calling the plays, and maybe not turn over the reins early, but tutor this person.
You'd be okay with that?
I'd be okay with that because
Kalani's
a defensive guy, and you know what? And it's not fair to Tuiaki that when Kalani was hired, everyone in Cougar Nation thought Utah's defense was coming. The philosophy, the players, whatever, and in a lot of ways that hasn't happened.
Yeah, the players definitely didn't.
Yeah,
like BYU's got some good players, but it's not Utah's defense.
No, it's not Utah's defense, and so that goes out of the way.
It's not Utah's offense; it's better.
That's right.
So let's acknowledge that.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But when the defense was talked about, it was like, okay, Kalani's going to come, and you know what we're going to do? We're going to start sacking the quarterback every time because that's what Utah does. Well, for one reason or another, some years are better and some are not.
Yeah.
So does Kalani tap in on his own experience and bring up a young guy and train him in the way he should go? We'll see. It would be tempting to go get, and seem like a no-brainer to go get someone, but when you get someone, you get their ideas and their system to come into your world, and you got to be okay with that. Some coaches aren't. Some coaches are. I don't know how Kalani would be this way of, hey, my love is defense, and now I've got to turn it over to somebody else, and it's his defense, and I don't get to boss him around, even though I'm the head coach. Sometimes when you hire guys like this, I kind of think he'll bring up because it's fun for him. He loves doing that. I think he'd bring up a young guy, and it might even already be on the staff. You never know.
Okay, if it was someone on the staff, I wonder. Yeah, like a Gennaro Guilford,
Preston Hadley. You got some guys on there that you can teach how to do it.
Yeah.
Who are already here. That's one way.
My monopoly money would be on someone not on the staff, if it was. And I wonder how much Kalani Sitake wants to put. How much does he want on his own plate? You're entering the Big 12. You're playing 10 Power Fives now. You're going to go super hard year after year. It's a new era. Do you want to not have to worry about that? Although when you're the head coach, you worry about everything. Yeah. But do you want someone who's been in the fight before? Yeah. No, if I had my pick, listen, if Gary Patterson's available, yeah. Well, if Andy Reid's available on offense too, you know what I mean? There's some pipe dreams there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it'll be interesting to see who BYU hires. And I bet that BYU goes pretty quickly with this because the big signing day is not in February. It's in December now. Right. We are 3 weeks away from that. So I anticipate BYU moves pretty quick on this.
We'll see. It's going to be interesting. And there may be a few others that make it interesting, too. All right, second topic today on this Monday. Which team did you learn more about on Saturday? Or Friday. We'll say Friday because of the basketball team and Saturday because of the football team. But in their last 2 games, which team did you learn the most about?
I think it was basketball because they're down 23 and they come back. They were in the 7-8 game in the Bahamas, which is basically we don't want to lose all 3 games in this tournament game. And BYU was down 23 and came back. I'm not saying this team's going to make the tourney or anything like that. I just love the fight that they showed that, hey, we are good enough to be good. And BYU was. Football, you're supposed to take care of Stanford. I'm sorry. And that game was probably too close. That touchdown shouldn't have counted when there was a ball. It was like, what? I was like, Pac-12 refs, going to Pac-12 ref. And then the end of the half was weird. They got 3 points on that. The clock should have expired. There's 9 points right there for Stanford that they shouldn't have had. And then it's a very different game. BYU wins by 3 scores and not 2 scores in football. But in basketball, I really liked BYU. Yes, started slow, but woke up. Like Jackson Robinson shooting the 3 now. The last 3 games, 11 for 22. I really like that. And so it was good for Hoops to show us something there. Football certainly took care of business, but to me, that was about checking the box. That wasn't about doing something crazy.
I think they saw firsthand if they have less than 13 turnovers and at a season low 11, that they can compete. In their 3 losses, they could have won all 3 games. Now, I'm not saying they were good enough to win all 3 games, but they're up 10 at San Diego State, and they had USC and Butler had opportunities to win all those games. They learned some lessons throughout, as Mark Pope has said all along. It's going to be an adventure all season. It's been an adventure so far.
I hate that he told that truth, Bob.
But you see that, hey, limit our turnovers, fight for the rebounds. Dayton's a good team. You watch, they're going to have a good year. They just didn't have a good weekend. That was a tough tournament. BYU and Dayton were the two, worst of the 8, if you want to call it that.
It ended up being that way
good.
with 2 losses each, yeah.
And so I think they come home, and we'll see against Westminster, South Dakota, and Utah Valley. 3 games to get ready for 10th-ranked Creighton down in Vegas. This is what we'll see. Was this a catalyst for, all right, let's go? Or was it just a one good second half in overtime? That we'll find out in the coming days. And so I'm looking forward to the game tomorrow night on BYUtv just to see if they come out and, guys, let's take care of the basketball. Let's fight for every rebound. And all of a sudden, confidence builds. And a kid who's 2 for 17 shooting threes suddenly makes 10 over the last couple of games. And that's why he was here. That's why he's here to shoot the ball. Speaking of Jackson Robinson, we watched him in practice. He never misses in practice.
He's awesome.
In games, he's sped up a little bit. He's had a really cold start. Well, go to the Bahamas, you get warm. And,
yes, you do.
He got hot. And now let's see if he can keep it going, because if he's hitting out there, then Foose has got less congestion down here in the paint. And then all of a sudden things get interesting with Rudy and Dallin Hall slicing in between.
Yeah, it was good to see Trey Stewart make another 3. He had struggled. It's good to see Dallin Hall make some 3s.
They'd all struggled shooting 3s.
Right? Yeah. So that was great. If you should be credited with the comeback, should you be discredited with getting down that much?
Well, they got down that much because of how they have been playing lately.
Yeah.
To their credit, at halftime or whatever, they turned the page on, to be successful, you need to do these 3 things, and then they went out and did it. And then that's where we are, so let's go with that.
Yeah, great comeback. Second most, we think, in BYU history to Iona 25, which is crazy. Okay, time now to recap our game day guarantees.
Here's our game day guarantee results. We have to give them to you. We're contractually obligated.
Okay, here we go. Dave, you had 3. Welcome to the show.
I'm not happy with how it turned out, but Spencer had such a big lead. I was playing with house money. I had Brooks scoring a touchdown.
I thought he'd score 2.
He didn't score a touchdown, but he ran for 164 yards, a career high.
Incredible.
Against Cal. So there should be some.
That's what he does as a Cal guy against Stanford.
Loves that. Yeah. I thought Hall would throw for more than McKee, but I didn't know BYU
just
would run.
Barely missed that one.
358.
313 and 93.
Little caveat, if I knew they were going to run for half a mile, I would say he's not going to throw that much. Micah Harper would get his first career interception. Shout out to Tanner McKee. He played great, threw for over 300 yards. He showed off his NFL arm. BYU was a better team than Stanford, but I was happy to see the 2 return missionary quarterbacks go out and play well for the most part.
Yeah.
And he didn't turn it over, and Hall didn't turn it over.
Down 3 scores, getting a lot of passing yards. Sometimes those are garbage yards, and that's what it felt like.
But they attacked over the middle all game long, and BYU had a hard time adjusting.
Yeah. Okay, I went 2 for 3. I actually did okay. BYU will have more total yards. Not a shocking thing here. Stanford won't miss a field goal. I didn't say a kick, otherwise I would have missed it. Because Josh Carty missed his first career kick.
A miss. If you miss an extra point, that should negate missing a kick. But go ahead.
Jake Oldroyd, that's not how the rules work. I take every one I can get here.
Yeah.
And Jake Oldroyd makes field goal. BYU was so dominant they didn't need a field goal. Just kept punching it.
However, you know what? I would have rather had a field goal than that play we tried on 4th and 1, where Rapati went one way, Hall went the other, and then Hall sprained his ankle.
Luckily, they have
a field goal, and you won another.
Luckily, it's early in the season, and they still have time to get that fixed. On the season, Spencer and now Dave, 18 for 36. I am 12 for 36. Just pathetic. Let's hear from you in Voice of the Nation. Our question of the day: what are you looking for in the next BYU defensive coordinator? BYU Sports, yeah, on Instagram. Honestly, all I'm looking for right now is some change. I just need to see some things get shaken up, and would take that from anyone. Maybe Jarom Jordan and Spencer Linton should step up to the plate. BYU would be the worst team in the country if Spencer and I called the plays. Okay, we just call the plays on this program. Okay, there's no.
Yeah, and I just saw some numbers there that back up what you're saying.
Yeah. You want to be 131st in SP Plus on defense? I'm your guy.
Got to be careful sometimes when you clamor for change for the sake of change, because sometimes it doesn't always work out, and then you look back and go, I wish we could change back. But this does feel like a good time for some change.
Yeah, the numbers and sort of situation merit that, and BYU is going to find the next guy.
Season finale of the Coordinator's Corner is coming up here.
Should be an interesting.
In just a little bit on the BYUtv app. Aaron Roderick, Ed Lamb, 2 o'clock Eastern time with Greg Wrubell. It should be an interesting show. And they've got a lot of good things to talk about coming out of Stanford. and then the future.
And coming up, ESPN's Trevor Matich on the departure of Iliasa Tuiaki. This is BYU Sports Nation.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by BYU Food to Go, the MVP of your next event.
Utah is a special place. Our communities, the people, the history. There is no place quite like Utah. At Siegfried and Jensen, we're honored to say that we are from Utah. We live here, work here, and when someone is injured, we're proud to say we've helped a neighbor when they've needed it most. We know Utah. At Siegfried and Jensen, we're here for you.
Learn more at siegfriedandjensen.com.
Let's kick off AFR on BYUtv.
What they did in that fourth quarter was not unexpected in my book.
Everyone did their job perfectly, and it resulted in, obviously, a touchdown.
Who knew that he had these kind of hands?
And right at the snap of the football, they both go right downhill. And that was the end of that. He knocked him down pretty quickly. Navigates his way into the end zone.
BYU a winner to finish the regular season at Stanford 35-26. Welcome back to BYU Sports Nation. Jarom Jordan alongside Dave McCann. Lots to discuss with that game, but certainly the news of the day as we welcome in ESPN's Trevor Matich to the program is the news regarding Iliasa Tuiaki stepping down. Trevor, welcome to the program. Let's get right to it. What's your reaction to this news that Iliasa is out?
It's a sad day. Sad day because Coach Tuiaki has been a good coach. He's been a good mentor for players. He has been incredibly loyal to the program and to Coach Sataki and to everybody around him. He is a good man. And you can see his impact in the culture of the BYU football program. That having been said, I think it's the right thing for both sides to move on into the future. But keep in mind that as emotionally bad as it's felt on defense the last couple of years, he had 5 years where he was in the top 50 of scoring defense nationally. And so he's done a lot of very good things. And I think at this point, it's important to remember those good things because you're talking about a very good man. And for everybody in the program, it is extraordinarily difficult to make this goodbye.
Last 3 years, BYU's 28-9, and it wasn't all offense that got that done. But as they move to the Big 12 now, and Kalani Sitake has the job of filling the job, where should he look?
He should look to a defensive coordinator that has a couple of features. One is somebody who's got a knack, a talent for maximizing the scheme to the talent that's available on defense so that your playmakers are in position to make plays. Another is he needs to have the heart of a teacher. In other words, he needs to be able to teach the techniques of football, not just what to do, but how to do it. You know, when you look at Baylor, for example, Matt Rule when he was there, and when he was at Temple before that, now he's at Nebraska. I spent time with him in Waco on my tours in the off season and watched tape with him, talked to his assistants at length about the way they teach technique. And in an age where people practice really fast, they teach technique in the meeting off the tape. Coach Rule at Temple and at Baylor, and I expect in Nebraska as well, were hardcore technique in practice coaches. That was their first priority. Now, they didn't skimp on the scheme. They didn't just simplify things so people could run fast. They actually required a lot mentally of their defenders. But they made sure that first and foremost, they knew how to defeat the guy in front of them. And the new defensive coordinator himself and whatever new defensive staff may come in with that new coordinator need to be able to focus first and foremost on maximizing every physical capability of every player through technique.
ESPN's Trevor Matich is on BYU Sports Nation. Would it benefit BYU more going into the Big 12 in year one with the guy who has already been a defensive coordinator previously, or could it be a position coach who is upgraded and perhaps molded by the experienced Iliasa Tuiaki?
Ideally, you would want somebody who has been a defensive coordinator before. And there are a lot of good places to look. I mean, there are some very successful group of 5 defensive coordinators. Now that BYU is going into the Big 12, you may even be able to get a Power 5 defensive coordinator to make a transition laterally. But at the same time, there are a lot of outstanding position coaches, assistant coaches who have not been coordinators, but who have been groomed to be coordinators and who would be ready to step in and take that role, especially with Coach Tuiaki to mentor them because he is a defensive guy as well. And so you don't have to have a guy with coordinator experience. I think what you really need is to make sure you fit the features that you want in that guy and make sure that he can fulfill those features, which is to say maximize talent and teach technique.
How about a guy with geographical features, so to speak, someone from Texas or Oklahoma in the Big 12 who can help with recruiting instantly by showing up in this kind of a role?
That's another thing that Coach Rule did at Baylor. And we talked about this at length. He didn't have any Texas roots when he went there, but he hired some of the top people in the world of Texas high school football who knew the personalities and the culture of Texas high school football and how to make sure that you are respectful of that culture. The last thing you want to do is think you're doing the right thing, but you're not. And because now they've got so many games against Texas teams in the Big 12 and Oklahoma State, which is just up the road from Dallas, you've got parents of recruits now who might be more inclined to consider BYU because they'll be able to drive to multiple games of their sons without having to go all the way to Provo. And then, of course, BYU retains the California and Utah connections. But to have a staff that understands and knows well from a personal standpoint, Texas high school football would really help BYU get a jump start on recruiting.
Oh, by the way, BYU played a football game on Saturday. Let's talk about it as the Cougars take down Stanford, as mentioned. Interesting game in that BYU completes 7 passes for 93 yards and felt like it dominated. Felt like Pac-12 refs helped out Stanford to stay in the game there on a few calls, and it got weird. Jaron Hall gets hurt, appeared to be an ankle. Jacob Conover came in. But BYU rushes for its most yards in a game since 2013, 358. They really put the pedal to the metal down there. What impressed you the most about that win that BYU needed to get?
I liked it that they did what worked and they kept pressing it until Stanford stopped it, which Stanford never really did. Keep in mind that Coach Tuiaki is a fullback. He played fullback under Lavelle Edwards, and he has that mind of a fullback, that fire of a fullback. And they're not stopping the run. Keep running it. And the thing is, that feeds off of itself. Now, Stanford had some injuries on defense. They were kind of behind a little bit in being able to stop that kind of a thing. But this is football. You find the weak spot, and you absolutely hammer it. And I love that perspective because football, not football. I think at BYU, there's so much kindness being talked about, right? There's some kindness. It's all love one another and all that. Love one another except during the game. During the game, you pile drive the other side, and that's what they did, and I love that attitude.
No turnovers, no penalties. First time in 50 years that BYU played a game without any penalties. Their focus appears to be better. When you look at back-to-back road wins, really, at Boise State to begin the month and at Stanford to finish the month, a healthy quarterback. It appears this team is getting back more to what we saw in early September, which bodes well for a bowl game.
It really does. And I think it bodes well also for the program going forward because with all the losses they had in October, there was an opportunity for the culture to become a little loose, even a little unhinged with finger pointing, et cetera. But what happened was they came together. And we see that in this 3-game winning streak. And that's important because, yes, for the bowl game, that makes it more likely that they'll have a good experience there. It would be great to win that bowl game so they go into the offseason with another win propelling them. But at the same time, the culture of BYU is ultimately what is going to make BYU successful. It's what has made BYU successful. And the way that they finished the regular season against Stanford is a triumph of a culture that was under siege for a long time in the month of October, and they brought it back to where the home roots are.
Let's talk about Jacob Conover. Last couple of weeks, Trev, we've talked about sort of what we've seen or not seen and what we've read into that related to Jacob. It's hard to know, too, on Saturday because BYU with Jacob Conover in ran 10 straight run plays, and it was successful for a touchdown drive that ultimately sealed the game since Stanford didn't even get a PAT off the next drive after they scored, making it a 9-point game. What did you take away from Jacob Conover coming in, threw one pass, put it in the dirt because Isaac Rex wasn't open on a screen, but BYU was running the ball effectively?
Yes, and it's amazing what happens when you start getting downhill and you keep going downhill, right? It's amazing. I thought Jacob Conover did a lot better than some people on message boards think. I mean, they say, well, he just handed off. They didn't let him throw the ball, et cetera. Well, handing off in that offense, in any college offense really, is a complex thing. And we see backup quarterbacks come in during games all over college football, and all of a sudden the mesh points are a little bit off. They're fumbling snaps. They're fumbling handoffs. They're tossing the ball into a place where the receiver isn't able, or the running back on a pitch isn't able to get it. And I thought Jacob Conover did a fantastic job of executing what he was asked to execute at a very high level. We still don't know what he can do in a game as a passer. But he did come in under pressure, off the bench, and did everything he was asked to do at a high level. And I think that's a good start.
As the center of the national championship team, when you look at what BYU's offensive line did to Stanford on Saturday, and Stanford is as banged up as BYU is, but they're always stout and physical, and no one expected BYU to run like that against Stanford. They expected them to beat them. But how about the offensive line play? Did you feel, and do you feel like they're finally coming into their own as pile drivers, as you say?
I thought they showed that they can do it. It has not been a consistent pile driving performance week after week, and the defense has something to say about that as well. They played some very good defenses, but it's good to see them get that attitude, to get that taste at the end of the season, because again, at this point, we're looking at what happens going forward. And what happens going forward now, we'll see what happens in the bowl game, is the culture and the attitude. And this BYU offensive line next year, even though they'll lose at least one and maybe two guys to the NFL, they still will be an experienced, talented, big, powerful bunch of guys. And so I think having that kind of taste, that downhill taste, is something that if I'm in that offensive line, I'm in the coach's office during the offseason and say, hey, we like that. Keep doing that. Keep giving us that opportunity to get rolling in the running game. And so, you know, this offensive line, again, had a chance to kind of go, I don't want to say the word selfish, but to play for themselves. And what they showed at the end of the season here is that instead of doing that, they all came together and played better and better as a group as the month of November wore on. And that shows you something about the character of those players.
Jaren Hall got hurt in this game, unfortunately didn't finish, but BYU was in control. Otherwise, maybe he toughs it out in a different way, right? But when he goes out, BYU's up pretty comfortable. Any concern moving forward to the bowl game? He said he feels like he's going to play. It looked like an ankle sprain. We don't know for sure, but any concern from you?
A little bit. If it's a high ankle sprain, that's a little bit tough. And if he doesn't have that surgery where they put a couple of literal cables inside the ankle to support your bones while the tissue around it heals, then if it is a high sprain, then that's something that could be aggravated at that time. I don't know that would hurt him in the draft if he decides to go to the draft. But from a standpoint of what he can do, a big part of his game is improvising on the move. And from a standpoint of just the bowl game, if he is limited in his ability to improvise, to run, to cut, to make somebody miss, to get that extra yard, that's something that this team needs in order to be able to maximize its effectiveness, not just in the run game, but in the pass game. And so we'll see how that ankle is going into the bowl game, because, you know, his ability to cut is very important to the success of this offense.
We are anticipating the release of the Big 12 schedule later this week. Athletic Director Tom Holmoe told us December 1st. That's Thursday. What will you be looking for first when that list comes out?
First thing is the home games. There'll be new home games, and with Independence, there have been some fantastic home games. I mean, this year we bring in Baylor, bring in Arkansas. I mean, there's all kinds of just really great opportunities for fans to see teams in Provo that they aren't accustomed to seeing in Provo. So now there's new opportunities to bring in new teams that they aren't accustomed to seeing at home. The second one is, where are those road games? Because now they're going to be able to start a concentrated effort going forward at recruiting on the road in Big 12 play. And right now, as an independent, they've recruited all over the country because they've gotten the BYU brand into literal living rooms of potential recruits that really don't know too much about them. They've been able to meet people, parents and recruits in different places in Wisconsin and Florida, that wouldn't be able to meet them. Now, having such a concentration in Texas and then with Oklahoma State, I'm interested to see where the road games are, because now they have to hit the ground running on that same kind of a thing, because road games in conference are to win the game, but they're also to build the future. And so that future will be built on this first year of road games.
Okay, and final thought, we've got 30 seconds. Who are your 4 teams who next Sunday will make the college football playoff?
Well, right now, the top 4 I expect to be Georgia, Michigan, TCU, USC. Of those, USC is the one most likely to lose their conference championship game. I think ESPN's FPI, Football Power Index, gives the Utes a 62% chance of beating USC. Now, I don't know that it's that good of a chance, but there's your opportunity. Then it becomes, do you have 2-loss Alabama or 1-loss Ohio State to get that 4th spot should one of those top 4 lose? So I think the top 4 will likely win. I think USC will likely beat Utah, but still you've got a controversy sitting there between Alabama and Ohio State should one of those teams falter. If we learned anything from last week, it's that we don't know anything, which is very exciting. But with that said, go Trojans for multiple reasons. Trevor, we appreciate the time, man. I hear you. Thanks, guys. Trevor Matich of ESPN.
Join us tomorrow night for the season finale of After Further Review. We're going to break down the Stanford game, talk more about the exit of defensive coordinator Iliasa Tuiaki, the bowl season. Blaine Fowler, David Nixon, myself tomorrow night, 7 Eastern Time on the free BYUtv app.
Hey, everybody busy over the weekend, including interviewer David Nixon. That's coming up. His conversations with Taysom Hill and Daniel Sorensen. Plus, the Jets win big without Zach Wilson. And the newest BYU hype man. This is BYU Sports Nation.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
They prefer to be bringing the heat, getting set for success, demonstrating their drive. But when their blood and sweat turns to tears or anything else, we lay the groundwork for BYU's athletes to hit the ground running again, and you as well. Intermountain Healthcare, official medical provider for BYU Athletics.
Trio Orem Senior Living believes in empowering seniors to live life to the fullest. We help eliminate stress out of daily life when you live at Trio. Less time focusing on housework means you can socialize at one of our many events, with safety in mind, of course. And did we mention our spacious apartments with modern amenities? Learn more about setting up a private tour at trioorem.com.
If you're looking to build your brand awareness and increase market share as BYU moves into the Big 12, this is the place, BYU Athletics. We can provide the tools you need to make sure your company is seen and heard. BYU Athletics is where you can align your products and services with loyal fans that cheer for our Cougars. And they can also help your business win. Learn more about what a partnership with BYU Athletics and your company will look like. After all, this is the place. Email sponsorship at byu.edu today.
Here's the thing about BYU Sports Nation. It's a banner that unites fans all over the world. BYUtv and BYU Radio are all about bringing your family events and games live. On air, online, and on the free apps. It's the next best thing to being there, connecting your fandom with others across BYU Sports Nation. Download the apps and get exclusive access to analysis and interviews with players and coaches. BYUtv and BYU Radio, the place for all things Cougar sports. Tune in, join in.
This is BYU Sports Nation. To interact with the show and get great content throughout the day, follow us on our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
He is Dave, I am Jarom. Let's whip it. Cougar Whip Round is presented by Maersk, your e-commerce logistics shipping partner.
All right. Did Mike White put the nail in Zach Wilson's coffin? on Sunday?
Certainly tough because he threw for 315 and had 3 touchdowns, Dave. That's what, the Jets were hoping Zach would do in some of these games. Didn't help that Justin Fields didn't play, but that didn't affect the Jets' offense, per se. That's tough. I would like to see Zach in a couple of weeks, but there's a chance he may not start a game again this year if Mike White continues successfully.
And if Mike White is not successful and loses, say, 2 games, then it's out with him and give me somebody else. That's what New York does.
And they have Joe Flacco, who they've already started and won with earlier this year. So hopefully we'll see some more Zach, but there needs to be a reason to go back to Zach. It might not be this year. I hope it is, but maybe not.
If there is, he'll win it in practice, and then he'll have to prove it on the field.
Yep. What did we learn about Jacob Conover at the Stanford game? Because we got some run from him for the first time. It was forced into action, but...
Well, he didn't throw, and was going to throw a screen pass and threw that away because it wasn't there. I'd like to have seen him just take off, but I'm a viewer at that point going, just do something. I don't think we learned much at all. We learned that he can run the offense and hand off, which is what he did against Utah State last year when Romney was hurt after Hall was out with the injury. I think if Hall leaves, it's wide open, and I won't be shocked to see someone that we don't even know who that person is behind center when things open up in September.
He'll get a chance to compete for that spot, certainly, but BYU didn't need him to pass in this game, so it's sort of tough to evaluate Jacob specifically because they ran 10 times in a row on a drive and scored a touchdown. Yeah. So when you're that dominant, if I'm Aaron Roderick, it's like, why would I have him pass again?
Right.
So I get that part of it.
There were a few others I'd rather have seen run than pass anyway that night, too, when you're getting that many yards. Is Pete Warner the next BYU linebacker sensation?
Pete Warner is one of the greatest players in BYU football history, Dave. Our guy Petros Papadakis, forgot. Pete Warner plays for another NFL team, but it does he meant Fred Warner, of course, but it does remind me of some of the great misnamed Cougars in BYU football history, which are Pete Warner, Roscoe Mendenhall, Kyle Collingsworth, Noah Hartstock, and of course, QB sensation Tyler Magnum. There have been some greats that have been misnamed over the years.
Yeah, Pete Warner. His brother Pop was good, but
Jameer Fredette was pretty good as well.
All right, CBS Sports rankings of all FBS programs has BYU at number 61. That fair?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Middle of the pack. That's how BYU's been this year. 7-5, one game above 500. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't think BYU should be top 50.
It's kind of what they've earned.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. I think Arkansas and East Carolina are ranked just ahead of them. They beat them. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it a lot better. I'd like to have seen them a lot healthier.
Yeah.
And then we'd be talking about something else.
And think about it. It's beat Notre Dame and beat ECU situation away from being last year. 10-2 in the regular season.
Yeah.
Didn't get it done in those 2 specific games. Liberty and Oregon, I tip my cap. Arkansas is an interesting one. I think if you play that 10 times, might be more interesting, right? But Liberty, who, by the way, lost to New Mexico State over the weekend.
Yeah.
They got blown out. What?
Crazy.
At home?
Yeah.
Oregon and Liberty, I just go, nope, those teams are better that day. You're not going to win.
It was that hit against Utah State in the 4th quarter that torpedoed October.
Yeah.
All right, the women's volleyball team. Are they going to get a shot in the 2nd round against Pittsburgh on their home floor?
Yes, BYU will win in the 1st round against the Sun Belt champs, Jimmy Madison. And then they will play Pitt, who BYU lost to in 4 in September. Competitive match, but Pitt's loaded, man. Pitt is like Final Four good.
Are they San Diego good? Because BYU saw them twice, most recently last week, and they were just better.
They are close to San Diego good. I would have San Diego in a close 4-set win, maybe 5-set if those two played. But yeah, BYU's going to get a chance. Remember, BYU's made the Sweet 16 6 of the last 7 years.
Yeah,
so
that's what they do.
Used to winning. But that's all come at home, dude. Last time they went to on the road and went to the national title game, first 2 rounds.
So they got that going.
They're going to the national title. That'd be awesome.
Let's do it.
That'd be awesome. Okay, following the come-from-behind win against Dayton, BYU Hoops captured this hypeness from BYU assistant coach Nick Robinson, who doesn't have like a full voice. He's battled some health issues with his throat, but he is yelling as loud as he possibly can. Should this be the energy of our producer and our production team after every show?
I don't know. They've been shouting in my ear this whole show, and I don't like it. So I'd say no.
Rap! Move on!
There is great energy on this staff, and coming out of that big win. We'll see them tomorrow night and see if they can sustain it now as they move into December. But
I love it.
That's fired up.
Nick is fired up. By the way, Nick still got it. Like, he'll suit up with the practice squad. And he'll actually play and like throw down. Oh yeah, we see it at shoot around. It's awesome.
We'll see Nick and the guys tomorrow night. Moving up to Vivint Arena. Christmas around the world is moving into the Marriott Center. So the Cougars are up in Salt Lake City, which is this is an awesome time of year to be up there. BYUtv coverage starts at 8 o'clock Eastern time with game day. Tip-off at 9 Eastern. The Cougars and Westminster from the home of the Jazz at Vivint Arena.
They've got 2 former Cougars on the squad, so that should be fun to watch.
Yeah.
And David Nixon coming up talks with Taysom Hill after yesterday's Niners-Saints game. This is BYU Sports Nation.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Maersk, your e-commerce logistics shipping partner.
Football in Utah is all about the rivalries.
Red, blue, quarterback, wide out, rewards. Wait, what? My style, checking rewards. My style, right.
For Mountain America's My Style Checking, it's all about the benefits.
Loan discounts.
But it's hard to pick a favorite.
No, mobile phone protection. Telehealth. You're gonna need that when we're done. I heard that, let's go.
Get the account rivaled by no one. My Style Checking from Mountain America.
There are things happening in Seaburg.
They care more about people spending money than they do about people getting sick.
If they're causing toxic pollution, it is everyone's fight. We can't just let them get away with it.
If anyone can figure this out, it's my brother.
Friends don't abandon each other. Fine. Be heroes.
I know what it's like to love someone so much you'd do anything for them.
Whatever happens, I'm glad we're facing it together.
Me too.
Welcome back to BYU Sports Nation from Studio B. Jarom Jordan alongside Dave McCann. Well, being in the Bay Area over the weekend, David Nixon got to check some boxes. He got Thanksgiving in with some family, got the BYU Stanford game, and then he got the Niners, Saints game. He probably didn't need a ticket. He could have got one from brother-in-law Taysom Hill, but David went to that game on behalf of BYUtv, and we have him interviewing some people, including his brother-in-law Taysom Hill right here.
Obviously a tough game out there today, but we saw you line up all over the field, flexed out as a wing quarterback. Talk about your role with this team and kind of how that's developed over the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think every week's a little bit different. You kind of look at the game plan and see where you're going to be. But, I've had a lot of fun. I've done a lot of unique things, and, it's whatever you can do to help the team win football games. And, that's what it's all about, and it's been fun.
So we've talked about a lot about this, you and I, how you've had to transition back and forth between the quarterback room and the tight room. Talk about that's pretty unique. Most guys have just one specific room, but you're kind of bouncing all over the place. Talk about your preparation throughout the week and getting ready for a game and kind of what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I have to become very hyper-focused on what they're asking me to do. So it's hard for me to, fully dive into what the quarterbacks are doing, what the tight ends are doing, because of how unique my role is. So I've become very hyper-focused on where I'm going to be, what I'm going to be asked to do. And it's one of those things that I've just learned to deal. I figured out a process that works for me. And, you still kind of make it work when you get hit in the hand or something, and then coach calls something down the field for you in the middle of the game. But, we've been able to make it work.
So we saw you chatting with Fred Warner before the game. You guys played 3 seasons together at BYU. Talk about that relationship and kind of how it played out throughout the game.
I mean, I've got a lot of respect for Fred. You go back to college and playing Fred every day in practice. He was a great football player, and so I'm not surprised to see all the success that he's had in the NFL. And he's a guy that just gets better and better every year. And, man, it's hard to think of somebody that's playing better than him right now at that position.
So BYU last night just played their last regular season game of independence. You were the quarterback during independence period. What's your fondest memory of being at BYU and the whole being a quarterback during independence?
Yeah, I mean, I think it created a lot of really unique experiences going to different venues and playing different teams that you wouldn't normally have. And, you know, obviously playing universities like the University of Texas and, you know, other big-time schools throughout the country are really ones that come to mind. And, you know, I look back at it with a lot of fond memories, but, man, I'm excited for the future.
Yeah, so speaking of future, BYU now headed into the Big 12. As an alumni now, what are your thoughts of BYU next year heading into the Big 12 playing with the P5 conference?
I mean, I'm fired up. I think there's obviously rivalries that go around amongst the locker room and stuff. And when you get in a conference like that, you know you're going to be playing teammates every single year. Makes it a lot of fun for what I'm doing now. But, man, it's a lot of fun, you know, aside from all of that, just to see them get in a conference and have a chance to go win a conference championship and you know, make a run for the Final Four.
All right, as a seasoned NFL vet yourself, what advice would you give to some of the BYU Cougars coming out, like Jaron Hall potentially? You've heard Puka Nacua, Blake Freeland, some of these other guys coming out. What's your advice to them as they kind of make the step to the next level?
I think the biggest thing is you got to find someone that's been doing it for a while. Find a mentor and someone that's willing to teach you the process to get ready for a football game, and do everything you can to learn from them. And, you know, I look back at my career, early in my career, Drew was really that guy for me. And the process that I used to get ready for a football game was everything that he taught me. And, man, that just accelerated my career in so many ways.
Last question. A few weeks ago, we played golf down in New Orleans, and you had to Venmo me after the round. Let's talk a little bit about what happened there and maybe just recap why you had to Venmo me.
Dave's getting too many strokes, and it's slowly going down.
That's a false statement, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, Taysom.
All good. Thanks, guys.
I don't know if that's a false statement, but that's good to see those two together. Brother-in-laws after the game.
Yeah, we mentioned it a bunch, but Emily, David's sister, married Taysom, so that's the connection there. Taysom yesterday, by the way, 0 of 1 passing, 6 carries for 13 yards, had a 7-yard catch. It was a tough game because the Niners are pretty good.
Niners are great on defense. I don't know if, I think I was at church when all that was going down. I don't know if Fred tackled Taysom, which would be kind of cool just to see them get after each other on the professional level besides hanging out before the games. But if Taysom was running very often, then Fred was probably involved in one of those 7 runs. But both great examples, and we've gotten to know Taysom. He has a home here, so we've seen him quite a bit in the offseason, and he's handled a whole lot. I wish he was the starting quarterback. I don't know why they're messing around with Andy Dalton or the other guy, just because I'd like to see him play. But they're smarter than me, so that's probably why they've done that. But when he's being utilized, it's must-see TV for BYU fans.
Yeah, anytime Taysom touches the ball is an interesting thing. By the way, no time for the Daniel Sorensen conversation with David. You can check that out on our social media platforms coming up this afternoon.
BYU basketball, Mark Pope, it's shifting to Wednesday night because the Cougars are in action tomorrow night. Coach will break down the Westminster game with Greg Wrubell. Look ahead to South Dakota on Saturday. You can watch it Wednesday, 8:30 Eastern on the free BYU TV app.
And which famous person wore a BYU Sports Nation shirt that we're excited about and want to show you after the break? This is BYU Sports Nation.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
Quick crack. Wash all you want. Don't drive dirty.
Tim Daly Ford in Spanish Fork offers a large inventory of Ford vehicles, including a selection of cars and trucks, providing a range of transportation choices. From the Ford Fusion sedan and the Edge crossover SUV to a range of pickups including the F-150. Each product line comes with options to enhance performance, comfort, and safety. Think Ford, think Tim Daly Ford in Spanish Fork.
Before I was a coach at BYU, or before I was even a player, I was a BYU fan. That's why BYU football exists, is because of the fans. To have a bunch of fans that want to see you be aggressive, I think everybody can live through our 123 guys on the roster and the 11 that are on the field at a time. Really, it all starts and ends with the fans.
Let's kick off AFR on BYUtv.
What they did in that fourth quarter was not unexpected in my book.
Everyone did their job perfectly, and it resulted in, obviously, a touchdown.
Who knew that he had these kind of hands?
And right at the snap of the football, they both go right downhill. And that was the end of that. He knocked him down pretty quickly.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Mountain America, the official credit union of BYU Athletics.
BYU Sports Nation is on demand. Download the free BYUtv and BYU Radio apps or listen to the podcast. Subscribe, rate, and review, please.
Time now for Fantasy Friday results. Jaron Hall didn't play. Well, he just scored touchdowns. Never mind. I'm going to get crushed again. But let's talk about it. I thought because Jaron maybe only completed 7 passes for 93, I'd have a chance. No, he kept throwing touchdown passes. And he rushed for 1. He had 3 scores. So I'm going to get crushed again. Let's check it out. Okay, so I started Chris Brooks. 16 points. That's a nice game from Christopher. Thank you. 9 points from Ben Bywater.
Pretty good.
Keanu Hill, thank you for nothing.
He banged up his hand, too. And it was on the sideline in street clothes afterwards. Spencer went with Jaron Hall.
And I lose right there.
He beat your whole team right there by Jaron Hall. Puka Nacua then made it worse. And then Fred Warner picked up 11, so it was 47-25. And Spencer now is 12-0 on the regular season.
12-0.
But you know, the bowl's double or nothing. So you got a chance to redeem yourself.
There's no way I do anything that matters.
I can't believe you lined up 12 different teams against Spencer and got beat all 12.
I would like to not thank Zach Wilson and Chris Brooks. They haven't come through for me
next year.
All year.
Next year's going to be.
There's always next year.
There is always
Cougar
next
Sports.
year.
Let's go.
You and the Cubs.
Our question of the day. What are you looking for in the next BYU defensive coordinator? Our lead voice of the day is presented by PAX Healthcare Elevated. Jason S. on Twitter. QB pressure and a willingness to recruit stars. Pretty simple. Well, there you go. Okay, sometimes, people wear shirts. We like it. This happened with Steve Young, which is our Rise and Shout Out, presented by Mountain America, the official credit union of BYU Athletics. Steve wearing the BYU Sports Nation shirt of the game. Nice.
How cool
Also,
is that?
shout out to the bright blue pants that Spencer's wearing.
Match Steve's shirt.
And it matches his shirt. There you go. There you go. Our thanks to today's guests, Trevor Matich and Taysom Hill.
Conversation continues 24/7 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. This and all of our shows are on demand at BYUSN.com.
For Dave, I'm Jarom. Shout out to Colby Pearson, an interesting coordinator's corner coming up at 2 Eastern on the BYUtv app. Cougars get it done over the weekend. But lots to discuss. Looking for a new DC. Go Cougs.